Hello and welcome back to another video on the Retrospective channel, and in today's video we're going to be going through the complete Prism Break retrospective. It's not just me in this video, we will have a couple guests, which, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people. You'll get to see them. In this video we'll go over everything and anything about Prism Break. His lore, his design, his voice, his combat, theories on him, his history, 3DS, etc, etc, etc. Anyway, make sure to get something to eat because this will be a long video. Without further ado, let's get into this. Prism Break, easily one of the best Skylanders. He was a mainstay in the franchise until Trap Team, where he's not chosen to be the Earth's Eon's Elite. He was not remade in Superchargers and was not in Academy, but he's still one of the most important Skylanders. You know what he did do? He made the Light Core, he made Traptanium, he made the Trap Bottoms, and he made all future Rock Gem Skylanders. What he did, it is commonly thought that Light Core was made by him. His design is basically perfect for it, and Prism Break is also the logo for it. He's in all the advertisements for Light Core, so I'm pretty sure it's pretty safe to say that Prism Break was the main reason for Light Core. How he made Traptanium, though, will take a bit of time to explain. But in SSA and Giants, there was a gem that was only breakable by Prism Break, and the gem was really a lot like Traptanium. It has different colors, it has a similar design, and it explodes in a similar style. Its name is Tizo, if you're wondering. And it's really a lot like Traptanium. So yeah. I know it's a bit of a theory, but I still think Prism Break had the influence. Next is the Trap Bottoms. Well, look at Prism Break's hand. If you have the Light Core version of him, they fit in the trap slot, so yeah, confirmed for that one. And finally, we have the future Rock Gem monsters, and basically every Rock Gem looks like Skylander looks like him. So, because yeah, they're all Rock Gems. What he didn't do. Sadly, Prism Break was not chosen to be remade in Superchargers, but there's an explanation for that. Because Prism Break cannot drive because he has gem hands. And Terrafin, which has a bit more popularity, was chosen him for the Eon's Elite. So he's more popular, so they chose Terrafin. And for the second batch, it was for the non-iconic Skylanders. So he was not chosen. And in Skylanders Academy, it makes sense because he has a weird voice and it would be harder. Plus, they also could not make too much models, otherwise they would go past their budget for it. So he would have been cut if he was going to make it on. Prism Break's voice. On the topic of Prism Break's voice, there is also his voice clips. You'll need to hear them for this discussion. Thanks for Boomeranger to making these easy to show. Okay, thank you. So he had a pretty consistent voice through all the games. This is his,
Roar! Roar! Yeah! Up I go! Whoa! Ha! The beam is supreme! Prism Break! I feel right at home! The beam is supreme! A sharp-looking hat. I look good. Break's over. Let's move. Let's go before I fossilize. Oh yeah! Prism power. I guess that'll do. Okay then. Breaking through. Nothing stops me. Right on! Here, I'll take it. Yeah. Rock rock solid, looking strong. All right. Woo! Oh yeah! Ooh, shiny. Gems are my favorite. Unstoppable. Tough break. A shining victory.
His voice is really rocky, which of course works. And he did lose a bit of rockiness when he was able to talk words. But in my opinion, he did not lose much. That was that much. He has a great voice. He also made some of the best catchphrases, such as, "The beam is supreme. Rock solid. A shining victory." Some of the best in the series, as you can see. These are very good fits for him. I think that Peter Lurie did a great voice for Prison Break. Thank you so much. Backstory. I'll just read the backstory from the Skylanders A to Z. Like, that book. Prison Break was a fearsome rock golem who inhabited dark, dangerous places deep underground, but it embedded in the rocky walls of Prison Break's home was a dragon's hoard of gems, jewels, and sparkly stones that no miner could resist. Few returned unscathed. Those could still speak after the told of trashed tools and mangled machinery, not to mention the blood-curdling cries and ghastly ghouls that ran out of the dark depths. A nice place for a relaxing break this was not. Eventually, there were no miners left that could brave the perilous pathways. Finally, able to rest without interruption, Prison Break retired to his favorite cavern and sank into a deep slumber. He slept there through some important events, including the roof collapsing over him. Over 100 years later, Prism Rank was really roused by a new generation of Mabu miners, one which had pickaxed him in a place he'd rather not mention. But instead of munching the Mabu, and using the pickaxe for toothpicks, Prism Break found himself transformed. His arms had turned from rocks into powerful gems that fired pure bolts of energy. Feeling much improved, he decided to be a force for good instead of grumpiness. So he joined the Skylanders. I really like this one, Skylander story, because it gives him a lot of personality. Like, he was really, not on the good side. He was definitely evil. And it just really is good. His design is perfect for him. He's rock golem. When I was younger, I came up for a design of a mini version of him. He would be smaller, but his hands would be bigger, and I thought that would have been adorable. I don't have any designs for it. Just trust me, it would have been amazing. His combat. He is easily the most strategic Skylander, which is great for me and many others. He's a Spacer Skylander, and if you don't know what a Spacer is, in short, is it a character that keeps enemies away and damages them with mid-range attacks. Prism Break fits basically all of these. His move Energy Beam is a mid-ranged blast, which does do damage, and also has knockback. The move Summon Crystal Shard is great for keeping his enemies away. It helps a lot when it extends the beam. It's good for keeping his enemies away. And so when they get close, what if they get close? Well, Crystal Eruption will do. If you have his first path, Crystal Eruption will launch enemies just as far as the move Summon Crystals is. So it's a really good combo ability. You can combo them really good. Prison Break is easily one of the most difficult Skylanders to get into, but when you do, he will be very rewarding. 3DS Prison Break, quote-unquote, fixes the flaws of Prison Break that people have. I do like playing him here too anyway. So one of people's complaints is that he's too slow. That he turns too slow and that his beams last too short. Well, now, his beam lasts forever. And the turn speed is now super fast, so you can get enemies all around you. Also, he can dash. So, yeah. It gets rid of a bit of strategy with him, but he is fun for those people that, didn't like him. So he fixes the problems that people had with him. Another cool thing for 30s Prism Break is that when you're shooting a gem beam, it will shoot the beam and then the beam will rotate around it, which is a great piece of strategy. I still love him even with these changes. So yeah, go and play 3DS Prism Break if you don't like his normal one. Although I don't know why you'd be watching this video with that. The next segment is variants. Prism Break got 2 variants. Employees Edition Light Core Prism Break and White Flocked Light Core Prism Break. They are both super expensive, and I do not own either one. If you want to give me one, you can. But I don't think, I'll probably ever get one. The Employees Edition was given out to the employees when Giants was around, and is completely golden, except for the top, from the top where it's white. And then the White Flocked Prism Break is less expensive, but is completely white, and I do not know how it, was sent out. That's not readily available information. They are both chase variants, so sadly no in-game variants for Prism Break. Next segment is a bit of an opinion, definitely opinion. And it's jumping. So in Swap Force they added jumping, and most people, like this. And don't get me wrong, they did the right choice by adding it in. But in my opinion, it got rid of some of the strategy. So we have Prism Break, a slower Skylander. Normally you need to run or take the hit if you're gonna get an attack, but you can just jump instead, and it just applies to all slow Skylanders. A bit of their strategy is gone. I also prefer the fighting and the puzzles, even though if I like platforming, Skylanders, I think I prefer a dungeon crawling experience, not platforming. I love platforming, Super Mario Galaxy is one of the best platformers ever. But, the Skylanders, I feel was better as a dungeon crawler.
Hi, I'm Bjorn, Björd Gaming, but you can call me Bjorn. Thanks Retrospective for having me on. I'm also a pretty average Prism Break enjoyer. He's on my top 3, so I guess you could say I like him. But I'm gonna be discussing his moves, Wow Pause, Sword Gem, and both paths. Get ready for a pretty long explanation. So let's get into his moves. His first move is just a simple beam, nothing too complicated, but it's very good. In his second move, he drops a crystal. It's just very good damage, but you can also shoot your lasers through it to direct the damage through other enemies, so you can hit multiple enemies with your beam. He also gets 2 damage upgrades for his crystals and beams. You can now press the third button to do a kind of shockwave of crystals that knocks enemies back. Another note on the beam upgrade, which makes it do more damage, you become green, and that honestly makes it look sick. And now we can also get an upgrade which, if a beam fires from a crystal into another crystal, it splits up again. This makes it possible to do a lot of damage over a wide variety of characters. Now for the paths. I chose the Crystalleer path on the first one. This upgrades your crystal shockwave and your crystals and gives you more armor. His first upgrades his crystal slam, which makes it do more damage and has a larger range. This is just better for area control and if there are a lot of enemies in front of you. This next upgrades his crystals that drop 3 at once. This allows for very good damage if there are a lot of enemies coming to you. As you can see here, if you land a few on them, it does good damage. But this also makes your crystal beams just cover a way larger area and make it way better. And now for his final upgrade on this path, you can now get crystal armor. This makes him look even sicker and just also more armor, and that's always helpful. You can never go wrong with armor. As you can see here, his armor gets increased to 108. That's a very good normal amount of armor to have. Wait, are those Steve? But Prism Break is the scariest Skylander because of those Steve. Before I talk about his other path, I want to show you his sword gem. His sword gem makes it that if you kill an enemy, a crystal appears. This also works on items, and this just makes very good for area damage and coverage. And now for his other path. His other paths upgrades the damage and the range of his beam, and it makes him look yellow. So Prism Break. This is just very handy and you can never go wrong with extra range and damage. I don't know what happened with the beam here, it's just Trap Team is buggy. His final upgrade for this path makes it that he shoots 3 beams instead of 2 out of his crystal. This is again a very good upgrade for area coverage and damage. And now for his Series 2 Waupow. When you are firing the beam, you can now press your secondary attack to fire a big blast of energy. This is just very good if alone used, but if you set up a lot of crystals, it goes through the crystals, so you can do a lot of damage in just one attack. Now for his Series 3 Hyper Beam Prism Break. If you shoot crystal, it shoots mini shards which do damage, but that's not the only thing. It makes a mini version of a crystallized version of you, and that's just sick. I mean, imagine having a statue of yourself in your own house. That's just epic. So that were his paths, but which path is better? It's a tough one, but I'm gonna say his Crystalleer path. His armor is good for nightmare mode and the extra crystals make it very good. And just crystal eruption, it becomes a good move. Without that upgrade, it's just kinda meh. But to accompany these moves, he also has stats. His health starts out at 290. It becomes maximally the double, 580. His speed is 350 and it becomes maximally 83. His armor starts out at 18, it becomes maximally 48. Or if you have the crystalline armor, it becomes 88. And that's very good. His critical hit is 30 and maximum 80. And his elemental power is 25, maximally 75. So in conclusion, his speed sucks, but the rest of his stats are very, very good. Thanks again Retrospective for having me on. I have been Björn Gaming and you called me Björn. And now it's time for Skylander Game TV's and Twister Sport. See you later.
You know, Series 3 Prism Break really doesn't impress me that much. While I do think his design is probably one of the cooler designs since he has red shards and he looks different now, his Wow Pow, the Crystal Comrade, really doesn't do too much. You just shoot your energy beam at a crystal and it will call out a Prism Break statue, and when you shoot at it, it'll launch tiny shards. In my opinion, just not as good as his past Wow Pows or even his Soul Gem, really. Series 3 is probably the worst version of Prism Break, even though I think he has the coolest design, or one of the coolest designs. Series 1, now this is where it all started. Now, instead of talking about the Wow Power, I'm going to talk about the Soul Gem instead, because there's no Wow Power to talk about. His Soul Gem is the Shard Soul Prism, and let's be honest, this is one of the best Soul Gems I've ever seen, and it really helps out with crowd control, as it makes the enemies after they are defeated into gem shards. It is one of the greatest Soul Gems out there in my opinion. It's just one of the reasons why Prism Break is in my top 20 favorite Skanders. And also, this is the OG, the first ever Prism Break that we've had. Now, we all know that Lycor was inspired by Prism Break. I mean, come on. There is no way that Lycor was not made just because of Prism Break. Because everyone was talking about how, why don't his crystals glow on the character? And now we have Lycor. Thank you, Prism Break. And his Lycor figure is pretty awesome. The pose they chose, perfect, and he is very shiny. His lights bright up so much. Lycor Prism Break's hands are super cool, and they also fit in the trap slot in Trap Team. So that's another cool fun fact.
Hi guys, listed here. Series 2 Prism Break is one of the best he poses. His pulse power while power is a very strong attack. You can form the pulse power while holding the energy beam. Press the secondary attack button to send a powerful pulse down the beam. But what is even cooler about him is that in his base special, it is based off his third move, where you perform an attack which is executed very well on his base. His build quality is great. I would recommend it for a Skylander player that likes a Skylander that is very unique.
Hey there guys, Coxtron here, and welcome to another video on Craft channel this time, where today I'll be talking about how regular Prism Break compares to how Prism Break plays on the 3DS. So, I love console version Prism Break. He's very good. Of course, he's not the favorite Skylander, but I think that he's really good. Anyways, yeah, I just, I don't know. This isn't, I suppose this isn't about console version though, is it? On the 3DS version, well, a lot of complaints is that he's too slow and the beam doesn't last forever, and that he's too slow while firing the beam. In the 3DS version, they fixed some of that, or most of it. His first move is still the same, but you can hold it forever. Problem is, you don't move. You can only pivot, but they kind of make up for that loss of movement with the dashing. With the dashing, you know, you could dash around and all that jazz, which will make him faster so you can reposition yourself better. One other thing though is that you can only have one gem summoned at a time. It comes out of the ground instead of falling from the air. It still works the same, but when you fire the beam into the gem, or the crystal column right there, they will automatically rotate all around you, covering your side, and they will lock onto enemies. They move around, they like swirl around it really fast, and then lock onto enemies like that. It's actually pretty good. And honestly, I think it's pretty good, but those are without any upgrades. His WoW POW is still the same, where you can press your secondary attack while firing your... The game calls it a gem cutter, but it's just the same thing. You fire the pulse for Series 2 WoW POW. I don't know about for Series 3. But, you can dash through, like, one of these things to make it explode. And I probably should have said that while the gem that you summon does not last forever. It does, after firing into it for a certain amount of time, it will explode, which does damage to other enemies. It's not ideal. I think I would rather have it come around a little bit, but it's still pretty good. Then you can dash into the enemy, the crystal, to make it explode, which will deal damage, but will also power up your primary attack for a short amount of time. which is actually very useful. I actually use it quite a bit. I think that's it, because movability isn't really a problem, because the 3DS are definitely more platformers than anything, because you can double jump, you can dash, it's definitely more platformer. But I still enjoy Prism Break quite a lot. I still play as him quite a lot in that form. So, is he better than console version? I don't think so, just because the amount of upgrades isn't as much. Just because on console version you can just do more because they have more upgrades. There's less upgrades on the console 3DS version, but it works. It gets the job done. Like I said, I like console Prism Break better, but they're both just really good, honestly. So that'll be it for my bit. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you all next time.
Glitches. So if you don't know, I'm a glitch hunter. And I found 3. One not useful glitch. It's just a visual. And then 2 pretty, like, 2 not useful ones, and then 1 useful one. One is not useful. It's just a visual one, and to perform it, you need to be in Giants. Perform your third move near an NPC, and then talk to them. Prism Break will go into curled animation until you stop talking to the NPC. Pretty cool, and no one to my extent knows this about him. So pretty cool for that. The next one, you'll need to be in the 3DS version of the game. If you jump, you can use his secondary move to fall slower. This may be useful in more vertical areas. So if you're falling, just use his secondary move and you'll be able to just go down slightly slower. And then the final one is Trapting. Prism Break's Shard Soul Prisons, the one that you get for defeating enemies, are red if you have the Crystalline path, and then if you have the Prismancer path, they will be purple. In Giants, if you play, and then finally, in Giants, if you play the Oracle level, go to the Spider path, and then walk to the middle. You can use your Crystal Eruption, and you can see the gems going into the ground and coming out from the ground. So yeah, pretty interesting. Not very useful, I know, but still interesting. Wait, that was 4. Never mind. Trivia. Hyper Beam Prism Break's artwork can be seen in the Book of Skylanders in the Season 1 intro of Academy. Another weird thing I noticed, but in Giants, he holds his arm a bit further apart when he pops in screen than in Spyro's Adventure. Sorry I didn't get any footage for it. Also in Giants, Prism Break received an updated design compared to the Wii version of Spyro Adventure, where he received a more rocky, detailed appearance. On the Wii version of Giants, however, it was left unchanged. His unique quest is bifurcation sensation. You must kill 100 enemies with double refractions. Also, he kind of looks like a Spire from Metroid Prime Hunters, especially if you have the Prismancer path. In the SSA trailer, he had red beams, so I speculate that it was his OG color for the Prismancer path, before they changed it to yellow. And Prism Break is from the rock golem species, and currently we only have 4 characters from that species. So yeah. The love and hate. There was a lot of love and hate for him, but there is just as much hate as for him. And so some complaints about him are that he's slow, his beams are random, and he's just not, he's just too slow for them. And if you're, in Giants you can get his speed stat up if he's too slow for you, or just equip a speed hat. His beams are, they are kind of random, but you're not supposed to be holding them. They're supposed to be quick dashes of damage while you use the other 2 moves. He's definitely not made for that. And, you know, his turn speed, yeah, it's supposed to be a direct attack. You're not supposed to hold it. That's not the point. And the love for him are people like me who like strategy in their Prism Break. You know, they love strategy. My story with Prism Break. Okay. His heroic challenge. Like, I know I'm going off a bit of a tangent, but his heroic challenge was great as well. See, for most Skylanders, it was pretty challenging. You have to kill 8 spiders, and, well, you need to use your pickaxe to mine. But if you're any Earth Skylander, you can break the rocks by just hitting them with your normal attacks, meaning Earth had an advantage. But Prism Break could break Tizo, the material that's in there. And so so if you're playing this Prism Break, the person who was intended to this, he had, you know, the ultimate advantage. It was designed specifically for him. It's also really good. It can be quite confusing if you don't know the layout, and yeah. I don't know why spiders was the choice. You know, they could have done like, you know, a different enemy, but you know, spiders are cool, I guess. And it gives you armor because Prison Break is mostly a tank, so it's his number one use. Along with spacing. And so giving him more armor was a great idea. And so it was specifically designed for him, which not most Skylanders can say that they have a personal advantage in their heroic challenge, if they even got one. Yeah. And a quick little bit that will take like a minute or so is the number one meme. This is the meme about me. It started off with my first ever video where I was like, Prison Break is my number one Skylander. And Boombringer took that and created a meme out of it. And you know, I honestly think it's funny. I want to move away from that. I'm trying to make more high quality retrospective videos. So, yeah. I know it will never fully go away, but you know, yeah. The meme is a decent meme, but you know, it's gone a little spammy, especially in the Discords. So yeah, thank you. Yeah. History. So we start off in SSA, where he was created along with the 32 other Skylanders. He was a Earth element, and you know, he was enjoyable. Peter Lurie did a great voice for him. So yeah. In one of the advertisements for SSA, you can see that his gems are red for a bit. So, you could have had red beams in all of the games, which would have been amazing. And because he still had his green, most have suspected that it was for his, Prismancer path, which, you know, it's cool. Then in Giants, they seen how really good he sold in the previous game, decided to give him 2 reposes, Series 2 and Light Core. I'll start with Light Core. Light Core. So he was probably the inspiration for it. So of course I gave it to him, and he is the number one Light Core. He sold off the shelves insanely. Every single person who had Skylanders Giants had him. I'm in my area, of course. The other one was Series 2, and didn't sell as well, but was amazing. His combat abilities was great, and, you know, everyone enjoyed him. Series 3, they couldn't do anything. They just made another one, and he sold really good. He was red. He was never in stock in my area of Canada, so I never got to play as him for quite a while. But, you know, of course, I eventually got him, and it was pretty cool. In Giants, he also got his 2 variants, his light core. Got both of them, and they were the white blocked and, you know, okay, I'm gonna cut that. But, you know, so he was doing great, and everyone was loving him. So I said we'd go into his backstory. I'm just gonna go a little bit more into that. I like that he's old. Okay, never mind, I'm cutting that out.
Greetings, Poor Masters, it is I, Dickthorn, and I just want to say Prism Break is an all-around great Skylander, having an amazing design and moveset, but let's not forget about his flaws. Out of all the original 32 Skylanders that appeared in Spyro's Adventure, Prism Break is by far the slowest out of them all, only having about 10 points in speed in his stats, but I'm not sure if they're accurate or not. And that really plays into why so many people dislike this crystallized stone golem so much. Although Prism Break's lackluster speed can be forgiven because he's literally made out of rocks, and I don't know about you, but they're pretty heavy. So just imagine being made out of them. And one other main complaint I've heard about Prism Break is his primary attack being the laser beam. So I've heard a lot that his laser beam is pretty choppy, constantly fluctuating in duration, and honestly I haven't had this problem with the character before. Maybe it's due to not holding the primary attack long enough. I don't know really, and other than that I can't find any other problems with Prism Break. Other than that, Prism Break actually has teeth. I'm sorry to bring this up, but if you look really close into his official character artwork, you can clearly see he has teeth. I'm sorry, and I just want to say thanks to Retix Craft for featuring me in this video. It's always a joy to talk about Prism Break. He's a great Earth element, and also just make sure to subscribe to Rex. He makes great videos, and I just want to say again, thanks for featuring me in this video.
So it was 2011, and I got the starter pack a week after it released. Me and my mom were at the store, and there was a whole shelf of Skylanders. Of course, Prism Break was there, and I thought he was epic, so I bought him, brought him home, and started playing as him. And of course, I loved him. He would be the first character I got to max level, and then eventually the first one I got to all his levels, and he became my favorite for years. In Giants, they released Light Core, and then after a few months, I got Series 2 Prism Break, but I played Light Core Prism Break a ton more. Eventually, Swamp Force was released and Hyper Beam Prism Break. I wanted him so much, but he was just never in stock. I only finally got him in 2019, and what a day that was. That was amazing. I was like, yes, finally. I would play Light Core Prism Break a lot. Anyway, I would play Prism Break a lot, and one day decided to do all the heroic challenges with him. Because I had all the Skylanders, and of course I did. I did it again because I had 2 Light Core Prism Breaks, and then I realized I should have done it with my Series 2. So then after I had 3 perfect Prism Breaks, my Series 2 is so good. His stats are literally overflowing. All of them are at max. They are like, yeah, of course in Giants. And so, of course this does not help because max is max. But yeah, he destroys anything in its path. I did a complete nightmare run of the game with just him. And finally, the downfall of Prism Break. I saved this part for last because it's the saddest thing ever. Prism Break was an SSA. And finally, the downfall of Prism Break. I saved this segment for last because it's the saddest thing ever. Prism Break was an SSA and was a close tie with Terrafin for popularity, which makes sense because they complete each other, but also contrast each other. Terrafin is popular because he's more beat 'em up feeling shiner. Prison Break is for the strategist. Bash, same thing for Bash and Dino Rang. Dash is the Bash and Dino Rang are almost like this. Dino Rang is for the strategist, and Bash is for the beat 'em ups. So Prison Break was doing great. In Giants, he got 2 reposes, Series 2 and Light Core. The Light Core specifically sold like crazy. Then in Swap Wars, they made a Series 3, which was red. And it's my favorite color, is red. So, of course, I loved him. I don't know what they were thinking when they nerfed him. Even after the nerf, he was powerful. The lost sales make sense, since the scale floor was to enter was raised even more. Trapped him in superchargers, there were no reposes for him. The best he would get was a little reference in the Masks of Truth books, and this is where we stand right now. I know he was not scammed as bad as others, since he got 4 different poses, and 2 variants, both of Light Core. But he's more popular than ever now, because there are memes of him. Number 1, and he's just super popular. And now you have Prison Break will never lose he will prevail and always be popular. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you really enjoyed it. This is the second ever Prison Break day, and I hope to make this a tradition for the entire community. Next videos will be even bigger than this. Trust me.